Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today we are talking about Metroid Prime Federation Force. And this game actually stirred up a lot of controversy when it was first announced because a lot of people, understandably, wanted a new Metroid Prime game, not this weird spin-off thing that's for multiplayer and you're not even playing as Samus. I could certainly understand why there would be a lot of people upset with this game, and I went into it hoping that I would be able to appreciate the game for what it is and not what it isn't. I had a good time playing through Hey Pikmin even though it wasn't a main Pikmin game, so I was hoping I'd have a similar experience here. My past Metroid experiences are I've played through Samus Returns and I played through Super Metroid, but I've never played any Metroid Prime game before. The gameplay of this is it's a first-person shooter, but you're not playing as Samus, you're playing as the soldiers, and you're part of the Federation Force. You're kind of like working alongside Samus to help beat space pirates. That's the main antagonist of this game is these space pirates. They kind of look like armored aliens. And so you and ideally 3 other people with 3DSs and the copy of the game, we'll go into that later, you will go through these mission-based objectives, and you're just trying to stop the space pirates. So you'll get like a menu. 3DS games really are obsessed with menus, like mission-based structures, never like a full cohesive game for some reason. I get that it's like by size, but come on. So you'll get through this menu and it'll say, hey, for this mission, the space pirates, they are doing some weird experiments. We need you to go in there and stop them. And so each mission takes about like 10 to 15 minutes, and they actually do have a wide variety of different missions to do. Usually, like, no mission is exactly the same. Sometimes you'll have to like carry this cart back to your ship. Sometimes you'll have to like dive, just like a plain old normal mission you'd think of. You have to go into the building, you have to destroy some important piece of equipment that belongs to the space pirates, and then you have to like run back out as the time ticks down, kind of thing. Let's see. There's one where you're like on a ship and you have to like shoot these balls into these catapults to launch at the space pirates. There is actually a good variety of mission-based objectives. I'm just bummed out that they went with this kind of level selection. It works for like 2D platformers, but they did this for Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon as well, and I just don't really dig the whole mission-based thing. Maybe it does work a little bit better with multiplayer, because it's kind of like you're all on the same page, you're all starting the mission at the same time, instead of like having to make sure that you have both progressed at the same point in the story. The gameplay itself, it plays as well as you would think on the 3DS. So if you're playing on a normal 3DS, you only have one control configuration where you kind of like you move around and your reticle moves around with you, and then you have a little lock-on system on an enemy, so you can lock on, and then there you use the gyro controls to like move with your reticle within that lock-on space. And then you also have a jump. But if you're playing on the new 2DS, you have this other option, and I'm really glad I did have a new 2DS to do this. You can use the C stick, that little nub, as kind of like a right analog stick on a regular controller. That's where you would aim. And then you also still have like your jump and your target, but you can use those on the 4 shoulder buttons. The original 3DS did not have those. They only had 2 shoulder buttons. So I tried both versions, and I really like the controller configuration where you use the little nub, the little C stick. Single player is not the ideal way to play this game. I actually did try to find other players to play, but understandably nobody is playing Federation Force on the 3DS years after it's come out. I doubt that many people were even playing it when it first came out, so couldn't find any players. To substitute players, you can turn on drones, and drones really don't do that much. But that's okay. I would even say you probably don't need them, except for there are certain objectives where you need 4 players interacting in order to make things function better. So I'll just give you an example. There's a level where you have to push this cart across like this sandstormy area, and you have the more players that are pushing the cart, the faster the cart goes. But if it's just one person, it goes really slow, and then you're going to get caught in this sandstorms, and it'll damage your cart, and it won't be good. So there are certain situations where you absolutely need your drones to be helping out. But like I said before, they don't really help that much anyway, and we'll get into this later, but there are mods, and there's a specific mod for solo player only that basically like doubles your damage and halves the damage received, so it makes it a little more balanced for single player. But don't misunderstand me, this game was completely made for the multiplayer experience. The pirate enemies, most of the time it was like they look cool. It's just like these armored aliens. They're space pirates. And but they were like the main bad guys. Occasionally you would fight like some wolf looking things or like a titan guy, but there really wasn't that much of enemy variety here. I really wish that there was some different, maybe like different humanoids. I was kind of tired of fighting space pirates over and over again. There's a variety of space pirates as well. Like one has 2 swords on his arms, and one shoots you, one flies with a little jetpack. So there is some variety in enemy types, but they are all the same race, which was pretty unfortunate. I would have liked different biomes as well. You only end up going to 3 different planets throughout the whole game, and just like a third of the missions are set on one, a third of the others are set on another. So you just have an ice planet, you have this deserty planet, and then you have this machine planet. And I would have liked a little bit of variety there as well. The soundtrack wasn't too bad. It kind of reminded, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they took a lot of inspiration from Star Wars. Like, when you think of, like, an action scene in Star Wars, you get the orchestra, kind of like that kind of music. And I really didn't mind it. It's not something that I would listen to outside of this game, but for what it was meant for, it worked here. I guess now I'll go into the mods themselves. Mods are just little chips that you can attach to your mech suit. You're just a guy inside a mech suit. I don't think I mentioned that. And the mods that you attach, they just add certain like passive boosts. They're nothing too exciting. If you're playing single player, you have to, well, you don't have to, but it's probably a good idea to use the single player mod chip only that doubles your damage and halves the damage received. And then as you go along, you unlock 2 more mod slots. Nothing too exciting there. The other mod that I used was it splits my rockets into 2, so it shoots 2 rockets instead of 1. And then I would also increase my damage by 30%. And those were the 2 other mods that I found. I never really uncovered any cool mods other than that. I wish there was more variety there as well. Like, hey, your shot slow the enemies, or like maybe if you charge up your shot and then shoot it, it like does like a lightning spark in between a bunch of enemies, or just some sort of variety. Instead of it was more just passive boost, like, oh, this increases your health, this makes it so your shields block more, kind of thing. Nothing too exciting there. At the beginning of each mission, you can also do a little loadout, so you can equip certain items to your mech. This would be where you attach like your health pods or your rockets or like your ice blasts and stuff. And it depending on what planet you go on, it might be a good idea to carry a couple of those like elemental things, because they help you access hidden areas for mods. So like if you're going to the ice planet, it's probably a good idea to bring some flame shots to like melt some of the ice blocking secret passageways. You can also customize your mech with some paint, but they didn't really go clever with these. I think that it could have been really cool, something akin to Yoshi's Woolly World. I thought those like paint designs on your Yoshi were really unique. There is Amiibo functionality here, but for the most part, each amiibo will just give you this one single generic spray paint, and then the Metroid-specific amiibo do give you paint there. I ended up scanning my Samus amiibo, and it gave me like a one that looks like her armor, like a paint job, so I ended up using that so I could at least pretend that I'm playing as Samus. But the rest of the paints are pretty lame. There's not much there. At least I think it would have been cool to give us maybe like let us do our own paint on our own mech, make it feel feel more personal, or done more amiibo customization as well. I wish like you can't even scan Mario, but how cool would it be if you scanned the Mario amiibo and like the bottom of you is blue and the top of you is red? You know, just it's not that complicated. Just little benefits, I think, would be pretty nice. And you don't even have to tie it specifically to Amiibo. I think it would be cool if, like I mentioned earlier, the mods, that they're just not that exciting to find because they don't really do that many different unique things. So it would be cool to find different different paints like outside in the actual game as well. And I think that they could have been really cool, but they feel pretty bare bones as it is. So the missions themselves, I would get excited whenever I did a mission, but I think it was more because in my head I was like, yeah, I'm one step closer to beating this game. And then when you do beat a mission, you get medals, and depending on how you performed, you can get up to 3 medals, that kind of thing. I think it's to incentivize replayability, but the medals really don't do too much. That is actually how you unlock your 2 different mod chips, but even if you get 1 medal at each mission, you're still gonna unlock your 3rd mod chip eventually, like down the line. It seems really hard to get 3 medals. So you get 1 medal automatically if you beat the mission, and then you get another medal if you beat it within the certain time allotted to you, and then there's like a unique objective to each mission. So it'll be like, hey, this level don't get hit by any lasers, and then if you don't, then you get that as well. But here's the thing about the time and the specific objective: you don't get a medal automatically for those, you just get additional points. So if you just skip all the enemies, if you get hit a lot, that's also going to affect your points. And so even if you do all 3 of those things, you're not guaranteed 3 medals. It seemed pretty tough because a couple of times I would accomplish all 3 objectives, time limit, everything, and I would only get 2 medals. And it just seems pretty tough to do it. If there was a better reward for earning those medals, I could see myself going back and trying to earn them, but as it stands right now, there's bragging rights for a dead game that no one's talking about? Like, I don't care about that. So for the most part, I only got 1 and occasionally 2 medals on each mission. It's fun to have a first-party FPS on the 3DS, but I never really got too into it. It makes me excited about the idea of a Metroid Prime series on the Switch. I think this would work especially with the controller scheme on the Switch, whereas the 3DS, they just kind of had to make it work. But how cool would it be to have the trilogy of Metroid Prime on there, or eventually we know we're going to get Metroid Prime 4. I don't know when that's going to be, but it makes me more excited to play through the actual Metroid Prime games and not this weird little spin-off thing. But it is a novel, kind of fun idea of playing a first-person shooter on the 3DS anyway. I think it would be fun to play with other people, but the barrier of entry is so high to do multiplayer on this game. It doesn't even have download play. That's only for Blast Ball. Blast Ball is like this additional mode. It's basically Rocket League, but like you're shooting the ball instead of driving into it with a car. I just played with that by myself because I had no one else to play it with, and it's okay. I only spent about like 5 to 10 minutes on it. But for the actual game itself, each person needs their own 3DS. You all need a copy of the game. It's just like, and then you all need to gather up together. I guess you could play online. I can't attest to how well it works online, but it's just such a high barrier of entry. I think it just makes more sense to, like pop in an Xbox and play Halo. Like, Halo looks so much better and actually is like a cohesive story and everything. It's just, I don't get what Nintendo was thinking here. Like, yeah, everyone's gonna grab their 3DS and buy this game and it'll be this huge multiplayer experience. I think the multiplayer side of it really should have been like additional content, and this really should have been like a single player first person shooter, and that would have improved it a lot, I think. But as it stands right now, it was just made for 4 people, and so playing it single player doesn't work. Overall, I mean, I had a little bit of fun with it. I think I'll give it a 2 out of 5, and to be honest, that might be being a little generous as well. But as it stands, I would say it's an okay game. It's fine. Well, guys, that should be it for now. If you have any questions about Metroid Prime Federation Force, I would be happy to answer it for you. I just played it. It's still pretty clear in my mind. So, and then let me know any of your experiences playing through this game. Did you happen to play some of the multiplayer with a real person? I'd love to hear if maybe the experience is a lot better that way. I'll talk to you later. Bye!